Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with my guest for tonight's episode number 6 of Ascension for the Soul. Her name is Maru Méndez. She's very dear to my heart. And this is actually the first time that we're going to transmit this on my YouTube channel because I've been working on Instagram over many, many years. But this is a little bit of a trial. This is going to be a trial, and Maru said yes, to adventure and to experience. So, Maru, welcome. I'd like to introduce a little bit about who you are so everybody gets to know you. And I'm very honored that you're here. So, Maru is a teacher in transpersonal psychology, and her title was delivered through the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology in Palo Alto, California. She also has a Master in Sciences by the University of Stanford. She is a practitioner of Kriya Yoga. She's certified in the System for Integral or Holistic Transformation. She has a degree in Neuro-linguistic Programming, symbol analysis, biologic decodification or decoding. And she is also certified as a regression therapist by the International Board of Regression Therapy. She's also a creator of a new focus that she named Emotional Archaeology, where she invites us to go deeper and to resolve the root conflict through a process that is both structured and holistic, and which allows to find, free, and transform those patterns and tensions that derive from emotions and that are let's call them the antecedente. I'm trying to find the word, Maru. Okay.
Perhaps background
The
or
background of conflict and sickness. Thank you. We told you it's going to be a trial. So she specializes in emotions and also in processes of nature that are not in the consciousness and that are involved in our relationships. And she's also a writer, author of many books. In between them is a beautiful book called I Come Back to Myself, Vuelvo a mí, and a
back to me.
trilogy, Back to Me.
Back to me.
Has it been translated to English, Maru?
Yes, back to me. I've gotten here in Spanish, but it is available in English.
Uh-huh.
And if
Okay.
people like a Kindle, like electronic reading, they
Uh-huh.
can find it very easily.
Okay.
And and you know that we are celebrating the International Day of Books.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and I bring with me another one that is in English.
Shine
For
your
this
light.
is a participation, Shine Your Light with other 13 writers. Chapter 11 is the one that I'm writing and
Uh-huh.
collaborating with
Uh-huh.
from the Eagle Road, where dreams bring new life.
That's wonderful, Maru. And I saw that you are sharing authorship with Janet Atwood. And wow, there you are, all of you. That's practically a summit, my dear. That is so wonderful. So um, I'm very honored that you're here. We already had an interview through Instagram in the morning. And as you know, I always say thank you before beginning to our beautiful soul, your soul, my soul, and everybody watching their soul. So everything that comes through, because we're both channelers, it will be for everyone's greatest well-being and benefit, and for everything as well, because we're trying to make a difference in this planet. Just as so many people that I admire that have their own podcasts and that are sharing information that is very valuable. And I'm so convinced, Maru, that you have so much to share. So let us begin with the journey of emotional archaeology. And the first question is, how did you come up with this title? And what is your objective with emotional archaeology?
Okay, the easy question to begin, right? Um, Emotional archaeology seemed to me like the perfect combination of words so that I did not have to explain thoroughly
Uh-huh.
what it was about, but that people immediately got the idea and the essence that is behind this initiative, this school, and this proposal and like technique.
Uh-huh.
What is the purpose or the essence? I want to invite and prepare people to go deeper,
Mm-hmm.
to discover the story behind the story, to identify and, let's say, liberate emotional blockages that remain like from many, many years ago that are inside our body,
Mm-hmm.
and to change the perspective so that because of what we lived in the past, we can understand what we can do differently. Because this perhaps is the question number one that people brought to me when it was about illness or
Mm-hmm.
difficult issues, things that appear repeatedly over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
That many times people say, yes, I see that there is something in here I need to change, but I really don't know how to begin that change.
Mm-hmm. That's extraordinary because I believe that the world is changing so quickly that just to update ourselves regarding what we're supposed to be experiencing, who we are is changing all the time. So I guess that your work helps people in a way reframe their point of reference of who they are, so they're not trapped in the old, ancient, archaic story. Because when you speak about archaeology, it's like going to the ruins, and trying to find the treasure between the old temples and see what we can uh, find there that is valuable, like a scavenger hunt in a way, but regarding our own selves.
Definitely, there needs to be something to learn,
Uh-huh.
something to be changed,
Yeah.
and you know that that is going to be behind scenes. That is going to be around those moments that perhaps created such a big impact in our lives
Mm-hmm.
that we do not forget those events. Yet, we
Mm-hmm.
do not know many times how things are interconnected.
Uh-huh.
And by doing this emotional archaeology process, what we want is to help people to connect things that they know that happened, but perhaps that they don't really know how they are connected.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you know, Alex, that I prepared this simple table
Uh-huh.
because I think this is very helpful for
Uh-huh.
people to get the essence of what
Uh,
we are trying to do with emotional archaeology.
yeah.
Let's imagine that you have a conflict,
Uh-huh.
like I want a boyfriend and I really don't know what's going on. I really do not understand what I'm missing on the equation, and it doesn't matter how much effort I put into the task, I end up in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's imagine that you are experiencing illness or even mental disorder.
Mm.
Well, what we want to explain people is that always, always,
Mm-hmm.
always, without a doubt, there must have happened something before that that involved emotional tension.
Wow.
I'm talking about stress
Mm-hmm.
that like goes so much high that it surpasses the barrier of what we can in a single day handle.
All right.
So high
Yeah.
that we are going to remember that it is going to participate in those conflicts and in those issues that we sometimes want to decode, to
Uh-huh.
understand, metaphorically speaking, what is life trying to convey through them. And of course, to make the point clear that with this approach,
Mm-hmm.
we are not becoming ignorant of physicians' advice. Physicians is key. Actually, they diagnostic, the better, the more accurate, the better for us. So that we run this like in parallel, like a complementary, right, effort. Now, if there is tension, huge tension, there is always a pattern behind. And it is here in the pattern of the sequence of events that happened a little bit before, during, and after that issue that created such big impact in our lives, that we find how we can make things differently.
Okay. What is the role that
Yes.
intuition plays in the scavenger hunt of our own being?
Whenever a person says, I don't know why, but I think that I need to convey this to you, I really not sure if this has something to do, but now I am remembering, I'm recalling something. It is always true that that element is critical. So a person's intuition is going to be very helpful, and the emotional archaeology process is not going to be a process like a 9-month process or years of studying. And no, to me the most easy way to explain it is with this famous um, status, the Moanis, I think it's the name. Moanis are these heads, very big heads that they have in Chile. In Spanish, Isla de Pascua, no? And if anyone can get in touch with the image, just like thinking of it, we can see that there is a pattern over them.
Yeah.
There is one head here, another here, another here. But it's like a very specific head, the one that we are going to analyze. And that head is those moments of big stress or emotional tension, distress in your
You're talking about Easter Island, just to make sure.
Eastern Island, exactly.
Easter Island.
Yes. Thank you, Alex.
Big heads.
Very big heads, and they are
Yeah.
more or less the same. The same thing happens in our lives. Sometimes we do realize that there is something that is happening over and over again. Sometimes we are not aware that there is a pattern. Sometimes we see the result of the pattern. There is a young lady that comes to me and tells me, I don't know why, but I always have the same issue. Men are abandoning me. So she's gotten the result, but the pattern is much more than the result.
Of course.
There is something that happens before that result.
Right.
And if we analyze the pattern, we will find what we have to change.
Yeah, you know what you made me think of? I just saw in my mind like these bright stars that suddenly have their supernova or they're completed their cycle, but they keep on shining a light that is an echo of the past.
Oh, wow.
And we're still seeing the energy that seems to be, it's a ghost light in a way, because it takes many years, perhaps thousands of years, where this light faded away, it disappeared, but its echo is still arriving to this moment. And so we have to be aware what happened in a coded way with that light for us to understand why it's being shown upon, or it's being shown to us in the now. Does that make sense to you?
Very much. And I think it's a beautiful way of depicting what is happening when the past keeps alive through the present day. We tend to think that our relationships and issues today are happening with the person that we have in front of us. But Alex, many times the issues that we are experiencing, we are feeling them in such an intense way, not because of the person that we have in front, but because of something that happened in the past that this event is bringing back. Why? So that we have another opportunity to resolve
Yes.
and to act differently. In essence, to act in a much more balanced way, in a more lovely way, recognizing our inner power and demonstrating that we have transformed experiences in much more enriched understanding of what's going on.
And is it easy for your clients to understand the process and to undergo these transformations that you're suggesting? Because there must be many facets to the work, yes? It's like identifying where the problem comes from, and then you see the pattern, and then what happens? Take us through the process in a simple way. Like, I want to understand, like, okay, we discover the pattern. B, we choose a technique to dissolve the pattern. So what do you do?
Okay, we have 3 questions and we have a method that is using the 4 elements, the 4 basic elements. And I found that by these 3 questions and 4 elements, it's very easy not only to go through the process, but to remember it so that you can replicate the process. What are the 3 critical questions? Yeah, the key questions that
The key questions, yes.
If it's about an issue, if it's about an illness, we want to understand when was the last time that you experienced that. What's the last one? And that's question number 1.
When was the last time?
And what's the last time? Second question, how you were experiencing that issue. We want to know its name and last name.
Okay.
For example, someone tells me I have issues because I'm never on time. And you know, Maru, I really don't know why. Okay. I'm never on time. That's apparently the name of the issue. But that is not the last name. The last name is why this issue is creating tension. Perhaps because every time that I'm not on time, my husband gets so much angry that we have huge discussions. Okay. Now we've gotten name and last name, and we want to understand what happened last time when you were not on time and when you had issues with your husband. And now we are going to do that both for the last time that you remember that happened and the first time. Why? Because we want to compare what happened a little bit before, during, and after the issue that you had.
Okay.
So it's like we are understanding like act number 1, act number 2, act number 3, whatever happened.
Yeah.
And we are looking very specific information on that. We want very harsh decisions that are nothing or everything, or actions that are unbalanced in terms of that I am overdoing, overthinking, overseeing, or the completely opposite thing. I'm not seeing clearly, I am not thinking, I am not discerning, I am not acting upon, I'm not defending myself. So we are looking for these unbalanced positions that will always explain to us why this doesn't end up in a lovely, peaceful way. because the only way to be
Yes.
balanced is going like through that which is called the middle way, the middle point way.
Yes. The healthy middle.
The healthy middle. And there are many spiritual traditions that speak about that.
Yes.
Buddhism speaks about that, but also Christianism, actually. There is this great writing from San Agustin. In Spanish is El Monte Carmelo. And I guess in English needs to be something like the Carmelo Mountain, something like
Carmel,
that.
Mount Carmel.
Okay. And he explains the same thing. If we want to ascend, we are not going to do that if we go through the extremes. And I always use a pencil, a pen, or something like this to explain to people that no matter the type of issue that we are facing, even illness, no, you know that we had here illness or mental disorder. There are tensions, and it seems like I need to control myself, to control my emotions. But many times, what we really do not know is that if we are overreacting here, it is because something that happened behind. And the only way to liberate this tension and to change the way that we react is understand whatever happened, and then we go through the liberation process. So we had 3 questions, you remember. What happened last time that you experienced this?
Yes.
Then how you felt that,
How
and
do you feel?
minimally how you feel whenever you think about this, because emotions have always a physical counterpart.
Yes.
Either I feel anger here over my belly, or I feel it here in my hands because I'm blocking the expression. This is a key discovery from someone who is called Wilhelm Reich. Whenever we express tension, at the same time, we are blocking part of it. We feel a little bit and we block a lot of it. And the tension that we are blocking is going to live within our body. So we want to understand when was the last time, when was the first time, and how you feel it. And you know, Alex, that we want to understand how you feel it because there is a technique called in English affective bridging or somatic bridging.
Okay.
And by only remembering how your body felt that emotion,
Yes.
discharge, you can connect. That's the way our memory works. You are going to immediately connect with other events where you felt the same way.
Wow.
There are many ways in which we can travel through
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
but as you understand, this is a quite an agile process. Agile, no? They call it agile. Agile process in that we are connecting through emotions. Emotions are our vehicle to find whatever happened in the first place.
So it's really interesting because one of the things that I've been studying on myself in this path of what I call self-realization now is how to conquer some of those emotions in ways that are very aware. So I've been very aware of the times when, for example, my pattern is that as soon as I start or have started to enter an arena of conflict with someone, it becomes physically very intense for me. For example, the last one was, and not so intense last time, but yesterday I had to receive a message from a doctor that was treating my mom, and we didn't like the way that she handled herself because she was not handing over the results of biopsy, and my mom was starting to get very frustrated. So I sent a message to the secretary of this doctor, And the moment I'm leaving the message, I start feeling kind of angry and frustrated. And then my heart, I was very aware of what was going on in my body, so I could flush it out. But I could feel my heart start to accelerate. The more of a connection I have with someone that is dear to me, the more the intensity of the reaction. But
Yes.
right now, I'm starting to say to myself and say to my body, no matter how long I take, I'm going to explore this emotion. I'm going to flush it out or integrate it. So
Yeah.
I do have a question for you. So one of the things that I realized very recently, even with 30 years doing the work, by simply stating, I don't care how long, I don't care when, but I'm going to conquer this, my system started reacting differently because I feel like I was on the threshold. Every time that I reached that threshold, something wanted to turn back and run away instead of facing the fear.
Oh,
And so my question is, what is the place of facing the fear as a modality, whether we breathe it or we say it or we decree,
yes.
I'm going to push this
Yes.
forward in your own system and technique?
So we've gotten three questions, but in order for me to answer your question, I
Yeah.
want to move to the four-element model,
Okay.
because you have just said the fantastic word of flushing in, flushing out the emotion that I'm feeling.
That's
And
water.
that's why the first element, exactly, it's going to be
Water.
now, this is going to be very important because many of us that have many years working with harsh emotions
Uh-huh.
uh, try many different alternatives. And what
Mm-hmm.
I found that is quite useful is not just like flushing it out, the
Mm-hmm.
one that has just emerged.
Mm-hmm.
Our belief is that behind the issue that is disturbing you, there is another story. So the question that I would ask to you is, Alex, do you remember another time when being in front of a physician or an authority, someone gave news that were not good news, or someone was not careful with the dear one? There needs to be something in the past. If the emotion is not an average emotion, but something very disruptive,
Uh-huh.
something in the past must have happened. And one way is just like the direct question, and other that
Mm-hmm.
is very easy is whenever you are feeling this emotion that you want
Mm-hmm.
to flush out,
Mm-hmm.
ask your mind, please let me know when I remember that I
Uh-huh.
felt exactly the same thing that I'm feeling right now.
Oh, it's very clear to me. I had
Okay,
a, I won't say who, but I had a family member who was very explosive in ways that were not very rational. Like the answer was explosive and it didn't match the intensity of the moment.
exactly.
Like there was this reaction that was totally out of control. It's like walking on a minefield and you don't know which, you're going to step on something and you don't know if there's going to be an explosion, a reaction, or even
Exactly.
violence, verbal or even physical violence. So
Exactly.
I felt very menaced by that, you know?
Okay.
So I kind of tiptoe around, I've I've
Yes.
tended to tiptoe around people trying to avoid the explosion or the intense reaction.
Okay.
Not with everybody, I can
Yes.
be very direct with my partner in life, and we are very confrontational, both of us, in a way that works to match our energies and come to agreements. It's one of those few people where I can go like, I don't agree, because I'm in confidence and I feel very at ease being myself. But for
Yes.
example, one of my kin, I'm afraid to say my truth, not to
Okay.
create a lot of violence, confusion, or upset and upheaval
Okay.
because of these
So,
past experiences.
yes. Now, even though you were exposed not
Uh-huh.
once or twice, but many times to the
Many
same
times.
issues,
Yes.
there must have been at least one moment, a
Mm-hmm.
critical moment, that created such a significant impact on you. And what we want is just to ask your mind if it can give us an example of a moment, a disruptive moment. The first that you'd like to remember, the first that comes to you, is a very good one.
Mm.
Uh, it doesn't matter which one, but we need one so that
Mm-hmm.
we can compare whatever is happening with your mother and that physician and
Uh-huh.
in that single event that happened in the past. We
Well,
want to.
yesterday's moment was not that intense. Like,
Okay.
I just, no,
Okay.
I felt
Okay.
I felt uncomfortable 2 minutes and then it quieted down. But sometimes the adrenaline can go all the way to the roof.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then those nights, like I can't sleep at night because of this, and I feel very anguished, or it's a loop that goes on and on for days on end. Like I'm having discussions in my head, but the discussion is not happening in the
Yeah.
real life. We're being very, very vulnerable right now,
Yes.
everybody. Like we're opening ourselves so you can experience something as well, or you might identify.
Yeah.
I don't have a single moment. I have just a collection of
Yes.
intensities happening.
Um, and many times when we experience things over and over and over again, there are ones that are the ones,
Uh-huh.
the ones that were very high. It really
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter in this
Mm-hmm.
specific case if it's not the last or if it's not the first.
Uh-huh.
But we want to experience again by remembering
Mm-hmm.
those moments,
Yeah.
whatever it happened. And there we go with the four elements: water.
Uh-huh.
I use breathing
Uh-huh.
as a way of connecting back to those moments. I'm
Uh-huh.
imagining that I'm entering again in
Mm-hmm.
that place, wherever it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And by inhaling like the atmosphere, like I'm again giving life to whatever happened in my mind,
Uh-huh.
the memory, the body memory becomes reactivated. So
Uh-huh.
I inhale the atmosphere, and as I'm exhaling, I detect where in my body there is tension.
Yeah,
Why?
it goes to my
Okay,
heart. In my case, it goes like nervous system, heart, heart rate, adrenaline,
okay.
breathing
Now,
a little faster.
in the following sequence, when
Mm-hmm.
I'm breathing in, I imagine that I'm receiving sunlight that
Mm-hmm.
comes to me. And as I exhale, I send with my imagination this energy
Uh-huh.
will definitely like eliminate the blockage.
Yeah.
And in my experience, this is not only happening at the physical
Right.
body, but in your perceptual body, there is an emotional body and a mental body.
Uh-huh.
It's like energetic bath.
Yeah.
Helps to flush out the emotion. There are many other ways. During the transpersonal psychology studies,
Mm-hmm.
I became specialized in art therapy.
Uh-huh.
And it is the daughter of Carl Rogers,
Mm.
who speaks about the process that can yield to eliminating these blockages
Mm-hmm.
um, by combining arts. So you begin singing at the same time you are painting,
Uh-huh.
and that allows you to touch those inner emotions.
Yeah.
Because if you are so angry today, The only reason of that is that there is an emotional reaction that in the past was
Mm-hmm.
not discharged. So this is water.
Mm-hmm.
We want to eliminate that blocking building or whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
around our
Mm-hmm.
structure,
Yeah.
so that after eliminating it, we can use air to elevate our thoughts.
Uh-huh.
This is when we are going to take distance from the events that happened, and we want, many times it's very helpful to draw
Mm-hmm.
like the sketch of whatever happened, as
Yeah.
I was saying, a little bit before, during, and after.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I discover how I participated.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we participate. For example, if someone is violent,
Uh-huh.
expressing ourselves violently.
Uh-huh.
And now we don't remember that. What
Uh-huh.
we remember is the conclusion that we got from that event. I
Yes.
cannot express myself.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to the event that your mind will bring back to you,
Mm-hmm.
you can realize that many times these things happen when we were so young, with the eyes of a child and
Mm-hmm.
the consciousness of a child, that now, because we have walked so much and because of all the experiences that we've gotten, now we have enough experience to create deep transformation.
Okay.
Now we can understand that it happened outside, but that we can do something inside to
Mm-hmm.
change how we react.
So my next question is interesting. Uh, you are involved with transpersonal therapy as well, and you've done family constellations and regression of past lives, I think. So have you found in some of your clients that the memory is not necessarily connected to the present lifetime? Could it be
Yeah.
connected to a past lifetime?
Uh,
I have. I have in my own work, but
Definitely, there is going to be influence from our ancestors.
mm-hmm,
That is definitely sure. If someone comes with insights from constellations,
mm-hmm,
that insight is going to be here to be helpful.
mm-hmm,
Of course, there are memories that go back to those days when our mothers were pregnant,
uh-huh,
or even before we were born.
yes,
But this is my key conclusion. After many hours of working with myself and with people,
mm-hmm,
it really doesn't matter how much we want to blame our ancestors for what happened.
yeah,
The key thing is that we are participating. And we are maintaining alive the pattern.
yeah,
Actually, I forgot to say that this square is here to explain what happens with those illness that we inherit,
okay,
and the genetic conditions that we tended to think that are conditioning us.
mm-hmm,
Well, it's been understood, and they have found, scientifically speaking, that in order for genes to express themselves, there needs to be something. And what is this something? Is like the environment of our blood.
of our
That
what?
is
Of
in
our what?
blood, our blood.
Our
Eh,
blood, blood,
Ajá,
sangre. Aha,
exactly,
okay,
sangre, blood.
all right.
And what is influencing this chemistry is the chemistry of stress. Once again, if there is something that is activating genes, is stress.
Okay.
So we are participating in this pattern. I remember the case of a man that came and told me, Maru, I'm so much afraid of losing everything
Uh-huh.
because my ancestors have lost it, that
Uh-huh.
I really do not want to repeat this pattern, but I
Mm-hmm.
really don't know what to do. And I would say, yes, but let's be cautious in terms of understanding the type of connection that we've gotten with these ancestors. One of his ancestors got and put everything he has
Yes.
in these casinos, and he was playing and risking all what he had created. And that is not the pattern that this gentleman was presenting.
Okay.
But there are other members of his family who show the same pattern that he, in the present time, is also putting in place. And this is what, in summary, for me, is the most important thing. It is not just that others did something and this is destiny that is condemning ourselves. No, we are participating consciously and mainly unconsciously.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
agree.
what we want to change. And perhaps, Alex, that brings us to the end in terms of the other two elements, fire and earth. Fire. If there is one single technique that I consider absolutely incredible in terms of moving faster, consciousness, and results, is transmutation that I learned from you. These events that create that big impact, I remember them, I feel them again, I flush the emotions out, I
Yeah.
elevate thinking, I know how I participate, but
Yeah.
sometimes we need to do something else
Mm-hmm.
because the impact remains in an unconscious way.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we overreact in an autonomic way.
Mm-hmm.
We have thought about the same things, perceived them so many
Mm-hmm.
times in the
Mm-hmm.
same way that now the cell pathways are so solid that the reaction happens in a matter of seconds.
Mm.
And we need to transform the way in which this big impact was installed.
Mm-hmm.
The mental representation, the image, and the emotions. We need to
Yes.
find them in our body, in the
Mm-hmm.
memory of ourselves. And it's not just like we are shutting down
Mm-hmm.
that. Then we need to replace that belief, mental representation, or emotion
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with a more expansive and lovely one.
Yes.
That is fire. We're like creating this unconscious change. And finally, this is where everything ends
Yes.
and another cycle begins. We need to make changes in our actual real life.
Yeah.
That means that perhaps tomorrow, after you solve the issue with these authorities that create violent expressions, once you solve it, you are going to receive a test.
Uh-huh.
So that this time, by changing the way you react,
Yeah.
you demonstrate that you are ready to put this behind.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I did my work, by the way, with this family member. I did my transmutation, I did my soul contract, many things that you've learned. And so the next question that Soul is suggesting, because for those of you who are new to the program, I allow, because I'm a soul whisperer or soul channeler, I allow Soul to dictate the question and to kind of guide in the greatest benefit of everyone what needs to happen here today with Maru, with myself, and with you. So one of the things that is being asked, have you observed the impact that this person that is healed through emotional archaeology has in its environment? Have you been able to either witness or have they shared that impact with you? Because this is really important. The work we do one-on-one, we're centering our conversation on one-on-one situations, but we're in a world that has expressed very clearly there's a lot of patterns, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of intensity and mental disorder right now in the world. And I want to demonstrate, Maru, and this is why I'm searching for this answer, that through one-on-ones, we actually reach a lot of more people than just a person coming to therapy?
Well, definitely, in order for me to answer that question, I need to share something that perhaps many do not know. My first profession is not transpersonal psychology.
Uh-huh.
I am industrial engineer with this master's uh, of science.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of my career, I never, ever thought about doing this.
Uh-huh.
Then anxiety arrived.
Mm.
And it was because of my personal experience with it and my desire to understand what was in my hands. What was that what I could do, not just to mitigate, to eradicate it, that I learned how to handle anxiety. And then I began
Mm-hmm.
sharing, and people appear around me, like mysteriously,
Uh-huh.
and, and I began sharing with them what I had
Yes.
learned.
Uh,
Then became another issue, and I think it was a major issue,
mm-hmm.
the possibility of cancer. It didn't
Mm.
become what they believe, but the fact of listening that physicians want to investigate a little bit more, you can imagine how much
Mm.
tension brings to you.
Yes.
After that, thanks God, nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I need to understand how I'm participating here.
Right.
And there were events that were very much stressful. And there was huge tension, emotional tension behind
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had this colitis and allergies
Mm.
that I could not stop. And then I listened from a physician who is using this type of techniques to accelerate
Mm-hmm.
healing when his patients go through different treatments, who told me that there were other ways of collaborating with the
Mm-hmm.
body.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that those things help me eradicate or understand what my body is trying to tell me. For
Yeah.
example, when you have allergies, you get one tissue and other because you cannot stop whatever is happening here in your
Right.
nose. Now I know to detect in the moment that I feel one drop is enough for me to understand what my body is telling me and I stop it.
Uh,
So
yeah.
after I learned and tested what they have shared, I gained my own conclusions. Not everything that I listened proved right in my case.
Yeah.
I understood that there was a technique in place that I could offer, as an industrial engineer. Then, with this duality, let's say, in
Yeah.
terms of interests,
Yeah.
I think I'm bringing to the psychological work a little bit of the know how that
Yes.
I got in this other world.
Mm-hmm.
And by sharing with people, what I realize is that there are some specific techniques or resources,
Mm-hmm.
and those are the ones that, because of people's feedback, I'm promoting more intensely, or I'm talking about those resources in the books that I write.
Yes.
So if one person heals, and
Mm-hmm.
for me, healing is coming back to balance. If you can come back to balance, to inner peace,
Mm-hmm.
and you can discover what you did, then you can share this know how with others, not to change them.
Mm-hmm.
That is unachievable, but to let them know what they have to do,
Mm-hmm.
so that by perhaps like creating more light here, you've gotten more light here, here, and then the star is like the sky is getting more light in the metaphorical way, that whenever we understand how to come back to balance,
Yeah.
we finally see why illness or difficulties
Yeah.
are just an entry point or an invitation to go again deeper in terms of inner growth.
Right. That's fantastic. You know, there's so many questions that are present when we go down the rabbit hole, so to speak, of the process of healing. But I would love for people to understand that every modality that we come close to or that we investigate or practice for ourselves is a step in the right direction for the expansive evolution that we're always endeavoring. And that archaeology, the emotional archaeology, as you have named it so lovingly, because I love that you use that term. It's modern, using an ancient image. Something is ancient, but it brings it to the light in the present moment and allows for us to be free of the ruins of our own lives, you know, in a way. That's very metaphorical. And then we can simply see the temple side or the value of the journey that we've covered, just as I chose not to speak a lot about your other book because I guess it's not translated yet. The Mona Yo, it's almost untranslated. The name is
Not yet.
to translate. But you do have a beautiful title that is Back to Me. And yes. I read that book with such pleasure, you know. And
Back to Me is created with the intention of helping people to find techniques when you cannot leave the past behind. What I can do to detach myself from those emotions. You know, the first element of 5 is accept and express it, as you were saying, in terms of feeling this pain, because once I let it out, it's like I receive the message. Is that the message? Okay. Is there danger indeed or not? If there is danger, I want to face it and see what I have to do.
Yes.
If there is no danger, then thank you so much for your message. It's okay. I've gotten it.
Yeah. It's fantastic. And I'm a strong believer at this point of facing and charging forward. You know, in the tarot, we have one card that may create a lot of conflict for people, which is the devil. You know, there's a devil in tarot, so a lot of people associate it with something devilish. The devil is the representation of our denser self that has not reached consciousness, light, moving out of egotism. You know, actually, that Marseillan tarot, el tarot de Marsella, Marseillan tarot, from the Cathars. The devil is cross-eyed because he can only look only as far as his nose. That's as far as he can go, and there's a lot of distortion, confusion. He's blocking the connection to the power of our own initiation. And why do I say this? Because in the process of discovering who we really are, sometimes what I say to my clients is, you don't run away from the devil, you charge forward and you'll realize it's a hologram. It's an illusion. So you need to charge towards your fears, not go against your fears, but just go like, I always go like, scream to the devil and just run and go like, you know, like charge forward, and it will either disappear or turn into love. And that's
I remember when you first shared with me that, and you know, Alex, I think it's a quite powerful metaphor. What you're saying, how it cannot see beyond its own nose, seems to be a perfect explanation of what happens in these patterns. When, because of the size of consciousness that we had when this happened, we arrive at some conclusions,
Mm-hmm.
short-sighted
Yes.
conclusions.
Yes.
But then it happens again and again. You were saying this morning, like the rehearsal that
Yeah.
we do again and again
The
of
eternal rehearsal. Yes.
a dramatic plot. So that by repeating it, eventually we can open up our eyes and see how we are participating. And to me, that's the most liberating part of this process,
Mm-hmm.
that I can participate. I can do something differently.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely, there are things that sometimes happen before ourselves,
Yes.
and we are not going to change externally the
Mm-hmm.
challenges. What we can only ensure is that the way we respond has everything to do with what's happening to us. And
That's
that's empowering.
fantastic. Yeah, very empowering. So, Maru, before we finish this fantastic interview, two things. The first one is, what would you give as a last message for those who are really connected to this ascension for the soul or of the soul,
Yes,
that can very simply create an
yes.
imprint so they move forward in their own journey?
You know that you asked me something not like that, but well, let's say in the same type of spirit. And then
Yes.
I brought this thermometer with me. I found it because I think this is going to be very helpful for me to synthesize what I
Okay.
want to convey to them.
Yes.
Our emotional reactions work
Mm-hmm.
as a thermometer.
Mm-hmm.
If they get very high,
Yes.
it is because there is something wrong inside,
All right.
not outside. Something happened in the past. And we can use this thermometer not just to measure something in which we need to go deeper, but also as a way to confirm when we have transcended that. In the reactions that
Mm-hmm.
we've gotten this, the scale of
Mm-hmm.
our evolution.
Yeah. Yeah, I experienced that firsthand when I first said, and this is only since the second to last eclipse, my
Mm,
emotions weren't very, very high. And then I was so angry with myself.
mm,
It was a new experience. It was a very new experience. And there was a kind of a fruit cocktail of emotions
yes.
going on. And I said, you know what? I don't care how long I'll take. I don't care how many times I fall. I'm going to confront this like very directly until I master it. And I think my body actually liked my decision. And I believe that my body, every time that I faced this intensity that activated my nervous system, and like, go forward. No, you're going back. You're walking away from it. Because this particular issue, we all have issues, but this particular issue, I kind of go like, no, I don't want to feel this. I want to feel this. I said, no, I'm going to feel it full-fledged until I master it. My body went like, oh, this is new. And my emotions calmed down almost immediately. I said, oh, so this is the key. I have to move forward and not back from it, or not kind of try to avoid it. So the first thing that I said, no matter how I feel, I'm gonna pick up the phone and make that call. I went like, okay, you answer now. I answer because I need to confront this. And there was no answer at that point, but I didn't get obsessed with it. And my whole system calmed down. I said, okay, this is fantastic. I faced a fear. I faced a fear. So that's number one. Well, any feedback regarding this before we close? Because the last
You
thing
know
is
that
your,
you
yeah,
have reminded me of those times when, as you did many
uh,
other times,
yeah,
we are the first ones who criticize our reaction, and we are like
yeah,
being so severe
yeah,
as if we were not human beings.
uh-huh,
And now, understanding that there are always patterns behind those tensions,
Mm.
we can definitely see things from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps this is the time. And
Yeah.
you know that when eclipses happen, emotions get amplified. So
Mm-hmm.
perhaps this is the time, with all this light that we are receiving, to
Mm-hmm.
finally close what I have been facing so many other times.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I see a reaction that seems strange, that seems like definitely irrational,
Mm-hmm.
the first one that says, Maru, calm down. This is an opportunity. It's my soul
Yeah.
that now knows that that might be the last opportunity. That's the chance
Mm-hmm.
to see whatever is happening today that
Mm-hmm.
is making me crazy, that is driving me crazy,
Yeah.
so that because of the pattern that I'm analyzing now, rather than punishing myself,
Yes.
I'm much more clear and I say, okay, let's repeat this scene. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see what I did a little bit before, during, and after,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can transform whatever it happened in the insights that I need to understand how I am participating here.
Yes.
And by asking myself one of those three first questions, like
Mm-hmm.
when do I remember
Mm-hmm.
experiencing something like this, there
Mm-hmm.
always comes an answer. It doesn't need to be an immediate answer, like you
Mm-hmm.
go and take a shower and you go and walk with your dog, or you become like driving on the street.
Yeah.
Then you are connecting with your right hemisphere,
Mm-hmm.
and then you are creating the bridge for those old memories to come back to you. So, whenever you feel that again, I think you are giving us the perfect example of how not being severe, of
Mm-hmm.
how welcoming it,
Mm-hmm.
and making the decision of investigating with all the evidence that that event is bringing, because the evidence of what just has happened
Yes.
is like the opportunity to see step by step how I can change.
So what's the third question? Because I was making notes and I didn't get
Okay,
the third
first,
question.
when was the
Yeah.
last time, how I
Yeah.
felt it, and how I remember having felt this same thing.
Ah, how, okay.
When I remember,
When,
might be the
okay.
first, but for us to in order to analyze this, I mean, you might find more than once, eh? But when was the first, the last time, how I felt, and when do I remember having experienced something like this?
Ah, okay. Okay.
Those three questions will bring answers to you, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Something like this. Okay. Fantastic, Maru. So we've come to the end of our beautiful conversation and interview. And I really, really want to thank you on behalf of everyone who will hopefully watch this and see great benefit from it. So where can people find you, Maru?
Yes.
Do you have the English spoken version of your social media, or do we have to post it as Arqueología Emocional?
Yes, that's
But
going to be the first, yes.
but now you know, everyone, that she does speak English. Beautiful soul. She can translate as you go, and you can actually derive a lot of benefit from emotional archaeology, which I would have to stress, Maru, or insist instead of stress, emphasize that you create your social media in English so people who speak English can reach you. And
I'll
those,
do that, Alex, of course. Thank you for it. Stressing you out. You know what's happened is that it has begun growing naturally.
yes.
Someone who had the opportunity of having like an emotional archaeology session
Mm-hmm.
like 2 months ago, requested a lecture
Yeah.
for the people who work with her, 70 people in English.
Wow.
Or, for example, once I attended a retreat and there I found people who were in this way, in
Yes.
the Ascension pathway.
Yes.
And they were like people from the States or
Yes.
people met in the masters from
Yes.
Canada.
Mhm.
And they began opening the way. Actually,
Yeah.
my first practicum, these social practices that are
Yeah.
required as part of the masters, became like available in English.
Mhm. Mhm.
In English, because my mentor, dear Rosalind, brought people in English. So
Okay.
perhaps life is telling me something.
No, I'm telling you directly. So, my dear, you have a commitment, and it's now a very synchronistic hour. So, Manu, thank you again for this beautiful encounter, and hopefully a lot of people will listen to this interview. I'll make sure to start posting and sharing as soon as it's up on YouTube, and wishing you great success, and may you continue to bless the world with your beautiful light and presence and consciousness. Thank you, my dear.
Alex, thank you so much. I was very much honored
It's a
by you,
pleasure. It's a pleasure.
your presence and the light of your
Yeah.
presence and all that you have brought to me
And
and that you're bringing to the
we'll
lives of others.
we'll continue our cosmication, as I call it, and hopefully we'll talk again in this same program a little far down the road. Okay?
Thank you, Alex, again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.